Welcome to Voices Beyond the Pages. I'm your host, Audrey Shanice, here to celebrate the incredible ethnic voices in the audiobook world. Every episode, we dive into powerful stories, real conversations, and the voices bringing pages to life. So, grab a drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. You're going to love it here. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Voices Beyond the Pages. Today's episode means a lot to me. Like, a lot. Because it's about something that kept me going in this journey more than anything else. Support. Y'all, let me keep it real for a second. This narration world can be so isolating sometimes. We spend hours alone behind a mic, trying to get everything just right, battling self-doubt, and hoping our voices reach someone who needs to hear them. Having support, a friend, a mentor, someone who truly sees you makes all the difference. Support for me has meant those late night voice notes that say, "You got this," when I wasn't so sure. It meant laughing until we cried about the mistakes we've made, breaking down complicated contracts together, and even sitting silently on the phone just to push through a tough chapter. Today's guest has been all of that and more for me. I'm sitting down with my best friend and my very first mentee in narration, Lawrence. And y'all might know him as LB. We started out unsure, nervous, but determined. And we just wrapped our very first project together. A milestone that honestly has me a little emotional. Now, watching Lawrence grow into one of the most sought after voices in romance and erotica, it fills me with pride and joy, like so much. I'm so proud of him. So this episode of That's My Genre is about celebrating him, celebrating us, and the incredible power of showing up for one another. So, grab a drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. You're listening to Voices Beyond the Pages, where stories and voices meet. You're gonna love it here. Welcome back to Voices Beyond the Pages. Today, I have my very first guest, one of my besties, Lawrence Baldwin, or LB, or sometimes y'all might hear me on live when I get a little upset with him, call him first name, last name. That's because I'm not telling y'all his first name or his last name. But I'm so excited for him to be my first guest. And I'm going to try to not make these questions boring because I know you don't want him to fall asleep on me. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Tired. My life, I'm always busy. I'm always moving, but I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about this. I've been waiting for a long time. The last time we were supposed to do this, I got my ass into the hospital and then you fussed at me and blah, 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 whatever. And, so we're back and we're doing it. So we're going to just start with some basic questions. Let's take it back.
Okay.
When did you first realize narration was something you wanted to pursue? And I know this is a redundant question, but
It's funny because I wanted to be a voice actor before narrating. Actually did a couple auditions for voice acting roles. I think my first one was for an animated series, like a Batman series, to play one of the characters. And then a good friend of mine, he started saying like, "Man, you got such a nice voice, and I would love to hear you read a book. I can go to sleep listening to you read a book." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "All right." And he was like, "Yeah, my daughter, man, she said the same thing. She would love to hear you read a book." And I was like, "All right, well, let me look into this." But it wasn't until like a few months after, like, he kept coming to me about it. I finally looked into it, found out about ACX, and I did a lot of research before I even started.
Same.
Yeah, because it just seemed like there was like this endless ocean of information on YouTube. I just kept listening, and I finally got my microphone, but I knew nothing about treating a room for sound and stuff like that. I knew nothing. Like it's funny. My first audition was me sitting on my bed holding the mic, and I did it. And you could tell the guy had like zero standards. Like he just wanted his book done because he was like, "Oh, yeah, I want to offer you this book." It was a what do you call it, royalty share book. And I was like, "Really? This is just a practice thing." Yeah, he offered me the book. Literally, it's funny, the same night.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted it done. He wanted it done fast. He was like, "Look, you'll do."
Yeah, for real. And that was an experience on its own. I'm glad I had that experience for a book like that, and I did that book under my own name.
Oh yeah.
So I'm
yeah.
glad that I'm glad that nobody knows about this book.
I've heard the book.
Yeah, I was not happy at all.
When we first met, you told me what book it was. I was like, it wasn't bad. But I think that over these last like few months, our standards have drastically changed from what we find acceptable and unacceptable, and that's really good. But yeah, my first was the same way. I was in this closet on the floor on a meditation pillow with duvets up in the closet. So, yeah, and you've heard mine's too. It was.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like we knew nothing.
We knew nothing.
But it was cool. And then you know what? It's funny because after I did that book, I just sat. Like, I left it alone for like maybe a year and a half. Did nothing with it. I think I might have done some auditions, but nothing. I wasn't serious. But then last July, June maybe, I just had that creative itch. I figured since I'm not landing any voice acting gigs, I want to do something. So I'm a thriller suspense fan. As a reader, that's really all I read. And so I was looking for those books to narrate because I feel like because I've listened to so many thriller suspense books, and I've read a ton. I could definitely make this work with my voice. But then go ahead.
We probably can segue that into my next question.
Okay, yeah.
Which is, do you remember the first time you got your first like real gig? Not the first name, last name gig. But do you remember how did you feel? I think I know what book this is, but how did you feel when you got your first like real gig?
I was pretty hyped because so one thing I knew that I wanted was that I wanted to work with Black authors. And like I said, I was looking for thriller suspense because there's something about Black thrillers that I really, really love. And I think it's more creative, and you add our culture to a thriller suspense with good writing. Like it's just awesome.
Yeah.
But I was scrolling ACX and I came across Desiree Granby's book, Luke and Adonis, and I liked the artwork. And I'm like, all right, let me look into this. And I was like, okay, I like the plot.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my audition, and then I think a day or two later, she emailed me and said that's exactly how she heard it in her head. And I was like, oh shit. Oh, can I cuss?
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh. And I was like, oh man, like that was a huge compliment to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was very excited, and to work with a Black author, it meant a lot to me. You know. So
absolutely,
yeah, and it was I think it was that project. I'm gonna say that was my first project.
Yeah.
And it was challenging because it had so many voices, and I wasn't ready for that. I didn't know. I was just expecting to be like the omnipresent narrator, right? Just telling you, showing you everything. But no, it didn't go that way. But so I had to think of things on the fly.
Yeah,
but
and learn the voices and stuff. And I do have an episode that talks briefly about, or not. I went in pretty good depth about how we have to learn how to narrate different points of view. And I think that kind of is, lends a little bit to that, where it's like, okay, you thought you were probably going to be narrating something from a different POV because that's what your expectation was. And then here you are doing first person POV, and you have to do all these voices and all this stuff. And it just was not exactly what you thought it was going to be. But, I've seen Desiree's book on TikTok, and, I know she has a couple other books coming out. So what role did TikTok or like the community play in like getting your name out there? I know the answer to this question because although I'm not going to take credit for it because
I mean, you should.
I'll take a little bit of credit for it because when I met you, I was very much like, oh my gosh, we need you, as a listener. First, I was like, your voice is necessary in this space. And it took a little bit of convincing to get you to the point where you were like, I'll do it. But once you did, everything that happened, I knew it was going to happen, And so whenever I see you out there and just doing your thing, I'm always proud of you. Like, dang, you know what? I put him on. But you tell me how you feel like the community has helped you.
Yeah. I didn't have a TikTok. Until, I don't know, August maybe, was it? Was it August? September?
Yeah, it was like August, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's around the time I decided to start taking, approaching narrating more serious. So when I did, I created an Instagram account with my narrator name, and I decided to start posting samples, just of reading other people's books. And it was pretty cool because I forgot whose advice it was that I took. It was somebody online, maybe a video I had watched, but it was like, start following people. No, actually, I was like, I wanted to know how to gain more followers on Instagram. No, just follow a bunch of people. Just keep following, and they'll follow you back. And then I'm like, okay, and then post often. All right, I could do that. So I started doing that. I started looking up, book club girls and Black romance, or just Black books in general. And I just started following a bunch of people. And then I still don't know who the heck this woman, she is, because she's never said a thing to me since then, which is so weird.
You talking about the lady that kind of like connected us?
She connected you and I. I'm like, who? Like, and I thought you knew her.
I thought you knew her.
No. I wish I'm pretty sure I could find. I gotta dig deep in my DMs to figure out who this woman was. But she had either inboxed, she had sent me a message, or just tagged me in your video and was like, oh, I don't even think she said anything behind it. She just sent it to me.
Yeah.
And I watched, and you were saying it was a video of you wanting to find all the Black male narrators. And I was like, oh, that's dope. And so I hit you up. Or did I hit you up?
Yeah, you did. Or
No,
I don't know
she
who it
hit
was.
you up. So she was like a liaison. So I was like, yeah.
Yeah, she was. Yeah,
I was
she
like,
was.
yeah, I
She
would
was.
definitely do this. I would definitely meet up with her and whatever. And she was like, okay, I'll let her know.
Yeah, and
That's
then
why I thought she was your friend.
Exactly. And then I contacted you and you were like, oh, so I was like, oh, so this person let me know about you. And you were like, well, I don't have that many followers. And I'm like, it doesn't even matter at this point because that was like the beginning of Voices Beyond the Pages when I was doing it was called Narrator Love, Bridging the Gap, right? And so I was just trying to get Black male narrators. And because I was so new to the space, I was like, I'll just, whoever I can get, I'm going to take. Now, it went way better than I ever anticipated it going, but yeah, I was excited about that. And that was kind of like the beginning of our friendship. But it was so weird because it's like that lady just dropped out of the sky. And I know we have talked about this quite a few times where we're like, where is that lady? Right? Because what?
Yeah, I don't remember her name or nothing.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, her post. I don't even know if I follow that person. So it was really just like kismet, meant to be kind of situation where it's like, you know what, we were meant to meet and it helped both of us grow as narrators. But we're going to get to our next question, which is the title of this podcast episode.
We didn't even finish.
Oh, what?
We didn't even get to where I got on TikTok.
Okay, go ahead. We could circle back, or we could go back.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So
because that was really just the story of how we met and how.
Yeah, and then you contacted me, and you asked me about TikTok. Oh no, you asked me about meeting your friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And he was like, oh, we have a show, whatever. We go live or whatever, and you can meet us on there. And I was like, well, I don't have a TikTok. I don't want a TikTok.
Yeah, he did it.
And he was like, trust me, you should get a TikTok. You'll get way more followers. And I'm like, ugh.
You're so resistant. Oh my God.
I don't like social media stuff at all. And it just felt like work. So I'm like, fine, I'll follow your lead. So I did it. And then I met your friends. And then they, critiqued my account logo and all kind of stuff. And from there, I just kept pushing out samples or reading other people's books. Just showing, what I could do, I guess, highlighting my talents, I guess. And and then the followers started coming in, compliments started coming in, boosted my confidence for sure. And I guess the rest is history. I went live a couple of times. That blew things up.
Definitely.
Yeah. So a lot of fun.
Community definitely can help to boost your career and push you in the direction that, you should be in. And I think that it definitely has helped both of us because our visibility is high. And I have said this on numerous occasions where it's like my visibility is so high. And that's the reason why I think we have been afforded a lot of the opportunities that we've had because we've both only really been in this space for going on like a year at this point. For me, it'll be a year and a few days. And you were doing it before, but it's like, seriously, you've only been doing it for close to a year. So having your visibility be a little bit higher in this space definitely helps you to get jobs and stuff like that. So I really enjoy that, especially being able to support Black authors and being able to choose what genre I want to be in and not just taking any old thing just because, But now we'll segue into the title of this episode, which is called That's My Genre. And That's My Genre really just talks about what your genre is and why you really like it and why you enjoy doing the genre that you do. I think that your voice has such versatility, and I told you this so many times, that you can do romance, you could do a suspense thriller, you could do romantasy, and it will work for you. But for sure, you're becoming like a go-to voice in this romance space and the erotica space. I don't know if you verge into the erotica space yet, but I don't think they want to see you come in. But what drew you to the romance genre, other than the fact that you're a lover boy, which
So it was when I was just on Instagram. Tati Richardson, who was just a stranger, just out of nowhere. And it might be because she was somebody. She was one of the people I just started following. And she inboxed me and she was like, "Hey, do you narrate romance novels? Because the book talk girlies want to know," or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "No, I don't, but I could. I'm interested, And she was just excited at the prospect of me reading romance, and I'm like, okay. And it's funny because up until that point, I didn't know anything about romance novels. I really didn't know how big a deal it was with women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was in my own bubble. I was in my own world. I read horror, thriller books. I was just doing me. I didn't know what women were reading. And once again, like I wasn't on TikToks and I wasn't on Instagram for my narrating at all. So I was out of social media. I was completely out of the loop as far as like what was going on with books and things of that nature. So, but Tati asking me about me reading romance, really piqued my interest, because for somebody to be that excited about me reading romance really piqued my interest. And I was like, okay, let me look into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bigger than I thought.
It definitely is. And your voice is like needed in that moment, because I personally love to hear different voices. I think if you're a real true audiobook lover, you like to hear versatility in voices. And
absolutely.
Like I like the imperfections in voices and all that stuff. So but that's a good way to get to the next question. What do you think makes a narrator great at romance specifically?
Narrator good at romance. I think, I don't know, I don't want to sound weird or whatever, but I think it's important, especially from a male narrator, for a male narrator to understand what women want. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And what women respond to. And I think it's important for men in general, first of all, to know that. Because, I mean, that's the key to a woman's happiness, to really get into their fucking mind and like, and understand like, okay, damn, like this stimuli will get them to react this way. Mm-hmm. It's funny because, I guess close to a year of watching TikTok videos and women, reviewing books, and you kind of hear the same things from them, like those funny, they are funny, where like women talk about like, oh, this character choked this girl while they was doing it, and girls reaching for their pearls, and I'm like, and it's like, okay, so you might not like this in real life, but you definitely like to read it. Okay, so. And then I'm like, okay, well, how do they want to hear it, right? Yeah. Like, they like to read about those scenarios, but how do they like to hear it? They like to hear like a little disrespect in the tone. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they want, because they want, and it springs from their real life too, right? Like women, unfortunately, a lot of single women find it difficult to find a mate, right? And and for obvious reasons, and there's a lot, not just single women, a lot of single mothers, right? Working and stressing and thinking, and
it's an outlet for them.
Right. But to imagine a character, unfortunately, there's not a lot of men who do that nowadays, but to find a character who will rob you of the daily think work, right? Yeah. A man to invade your space. Hold on, I'm sorry. A man to come into your world and invade your space and tell you stop thinking. And then he'll tell you, I'm gonna tell you what to do, right?
That'll get him every time.
Yeah. And that's important for women. That's hold on one second. We're gonna cut this part out.
I'm a pause.
I'm in an interview. I hear y'all. Can you just like whisper? So yeah, I understand that a lot of what women want to hear, a lot of what women enjoy in books and in entertainment come from like an escape from their own reality. And so it's a lot of fun putting a voice to those characters so that women could have that, like to hear, men who alpha males, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like A1 alpha, right? Like, a man to tell you your next 10 moves.
Mm-hmm.
And if you violate that rule, what the fuck I'm gonna do?
Exactly. I think that, especially when it comes to voices, I think that women have to realize it's more than, I think people in general have to realize that it's more than that deep bass in your voice. You know what I mean? You have to have that that swag about you, that, je ne sais quoi, where you can kind of put me into that headspace where you're like, nah, this is how we're doing it. You have to have that authoritativeness in your voice, where it's like you're commanding me to do something without telling me to do something, but that is just romance in general. But are there any subgenres that you would like to do, or you gravitate towards more slow burns? Do you like dark romance? Do you like high heat? I feel like I know this answer, but what do you gravitate, like subgenres in romance that you kind of are just your thing?
Yeah, I don't know what all my options are for that, but I would like to do more. Well, I've never done erotica. I would like to do erotica. For obvious reasons. I love sex. I like talking about it, love thinking about it, writing about it, reading about it. I love it.
So, now I'm going to ask you, what's the wildest or the most unexpected thing that you've had to narrate so far?
Ooh, okay. Wildest?
Yeah, like wildest, or just generally the most unexpected thing, like where you thought you were going to get one thing and you get in there, you're like, this shit is not what I expected.
Yeah. Well, I think it might be two things. So I had finished a book called Closer Than Blood, and it was very interesting because the book focused on 4 people who were friends, and 2 males, 2 females. They eventually married each other, right? Like one guy married one of the girls, the other guy married the other girl, whatever. And then one woman dies, but then they have these bracelets on, necklaces on that cause the dead girl to live in the hearts of the rest of them. So much so that the remaining female character, the one that's living, became a vessel for the dead woman, the dead woman's spirit, to the point where she starts to dress like her, talk like her, act like her, whatever. And she's trying to entice her, her husband, right? The widower now.
Yeah.
But the vessel is married to his best friend.
Oh,
you know what I mean? But the spirit wife comes back and enters her body just so she can smash her husband. I'm like, yo, it's crazy.
That was unexpected. I remember you narrating that book on live, but I didn't. I guess maybe there are parts I just missed because everybody was so invested in that story, and so that is crazy. Like, what? That's wild. How do you mentally prep for a spicy scene versus like a really emotional scene?
Yeah. So when it comes to spicy scenes, part of it is easy because, as adults, we do have, we do those things. So once again, it's before I record, I think about, okay, not just like how I do things, but I'm thinking about the listener, how do they want to hear this? What do they want to hear? And then I have to consider the character, his personality, what makes him tick. So I have to exude this character. But then I think what makes it easy is that listen, I know what it's like being in certain positions in those scenes. You know what I mean? So I could just exude that character and act it out, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but also, like I said, thinking about what the listener wants to hear, how do they want to hear it, and I could, you know, and I could do all three of those things. And so, but you know, sometimes it takes multiple takes. I'm like, nah, that sounds fake. I wanted to sound real. I wanted to sound real as possible. You know?
Yeah, because we want to hear that performance.
Yeah.
We want to hear it. It says so. Do you ever feel like pressure to perform a certain way because of your audience or like your reputation, the reputation that you're building for yourself? Like, do you feel that kind of pressure?
So I don't consider my reputation at all because, you know, I'm just a regular dude who works at a high school and I coach 2 different sports. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just a regular dude. People enjoy my work, which is great. And it's pretty cool. But as far as pressure goes, the only pressure I feel is the pressure of me wanting to be excellent. You know what I mean? Like I just want, and I love Black excellence. I love Black art. And so I never want to settle for any kind of performance, you know?
Yeah.
And so I definitely want to hit a mark every time. And that's why I'm always like, my punch and roll is always like, that's why my TikTok lives of late have been kind of boring in my opinion, because I'm constantly stopping because it's not good enough for me.
Yeah.
So, your
standards have changed, and that's like necessary when in this space, like, and that's a sign of growth. Like, you've grown to the point where it's like, okay, you're taking this seriously and saying that this is the way that I want to do it. And so, like, how do you keep your performances fresh when you're booked back to back with like similar genres?
Yeah. Each book, you know, when I start a new book, it feels like a breath of fresh air because I'm leaving a world that I spent a lot of time in, and I'm going to another. So that's what makes things easier for me. Because, you know, no matter how much I enjoy a story, it always gets to a point where I'm like, I can't wait to be done with this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm ready to leave this world and go to another. So so that's pretty much it. Some writers do do make me feel like I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. This is it's hard, and it's not because they're not bad writers. It's because of either their writing style or maybe a particular thing that they love in their writing that they do a lot. And I'm like, God, I just want to narrate.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to act.
Yeah.
70% of the time.
Yeah, it's acting. It's very much voice acting. And it's just like, whoa, how did we get here? Where it's like, oh, I didn't think that this is what it was going to be like. So for me, this whole interview has been like a full circle like moment because we kind of started this journey together in a way, even though I was in the TikTok space a little bit before you, of course. How does it feel to like look back to where we began and like where we are now? If and when you ever think about that.
You know, I do think about it. It's pretty funny. Like I didn't expect to be somebody that people were interested in hearing or excited about. I just wanted to get some gigs, you know, and just have fun. I'm still having fun. Although it has turned into work. Which is what I was concerned about before it got this out of hand. You know, like I wanted to just have fun. I didn't want it to feel like work. But even though it feels like work now, I'm still having fun. But you know, it's funny because I didn't really have any standards. You really introduced the standard of like, Like especially like you harped on how to end a chapter, and I'm like, he was like, no, that's not how you end a chapter. I'm like,
Yeah, I really like,
yeah,
and now I was so proud of you one day when I was watching one of your lives and you was like, oh no, that closing sentence is not, it didn't give what I needed to give. And
yeah,
that was what was in my mind. And I was like, oh man, I love
yeah,
him, because I love when something sounds like it's ending, you know? I don't want it to sound like it's something coming after that. So we worked a lot in the very beginning on like closing sentences, because it needs to sound like a closing sentence. And of course, in editing, we can go back in and we can do like a fade envelope or whatever,
yes,
but it's not the same.
it's not.
You know, it's not the same. So like closing sentences are so important. But there's so many things that I've learned in this time that I've started this, and it's just like, what's one thing that you wish you had known at the start of your like narration career in general?
Thing I wish I had known at the very start. I wish I had been introduced to punch and roll early, because
I tried. You know I did.
yeah. Well, you know what? I guess it was because I was so overwhelmed with narrating at that point, because everything was new, and I was like, let me just stick to what's comfortable. But damn it, it was not comfortable at all.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Just editing through. You know, it's already one thing having to edit, you know, with punch and roll, like, you know, it's not a ton of work. It's not a lot of work. But then, damn, like to edit, just reading through with all the mistakes, is insane.
It's crazy.
Insane. It really is defeating. Like I've cried a couple times in the studio because I'm like, you know, I wanted to quit, but like I already told them like I'd do it. You know what I mean? And I'm posting stuff about this book, and like I'm gonna look stupid if I just don't deliver.
But punch and roll would have, in the beginning, I was so afraid of punch and roll. I'm not even gonna lie. Because it's just like playing double dutch, you know, where you popping in, you put in whatever you need to get in, or you having to do a whole sentence over. And although punch and roll sucks sometimes, it really, really does. Once you really learn how to use punch and roll, it saves you so much time on the back end of editing, especially if you're doing a royalty share project, that it just takes the stress off of you. So if you have to endure it for a little bit in that moment, you know, just go through it. So punch and roll, that you've heard two of us now, listeners, we're both telling y'all, if you're just starting narration and you're wondering what's the skill that you need to master first and foremost before you start a book, please, even if you're a little bit afraid, just start trying punch and roll, because it's going to save you so much time on the back end when it's, you know, time to do it. So what advice would you give someone, especially a black man, thinking about getting into audiobook narration?
What advice?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot.
Well, just give like, you think of a good piece of advice that just for a black man get into narration, because we really don't have enough black men in this space narrating black books, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think first things first is don't be picky. You know what I mean? Get what's available, get what's offered to you, so that you can build a catalog, right? You want to be able to showcase what you can do, and you want to be able to do that as fast as possible. So find a novella, find your average, aspiring author, who isn't themselves well known or known at all, who wants to get their book out there. If you could find something short, do it. Do it and do your best and showcase it and listen over your work. And, ask yourself, what would you do different? And just keep improving on, and obviously listen to the narrators that your average listener goes for, and think about what it is about their voices that they like. What is it about their reading style or their narrating style that they like? Because not all narrators narrate the same way.
Exactly.
So there's a style, there's a tone, and there's a versatility that you should be listening for that you could probably adopt. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you want to be a narrator, in my opinion, if you're going to do something, be great at it. And to be great at it, do your research, study the listeners, study the narrators, and you'll be fine.
And to piggyback off of that, having helped you and, a couple other people giving them advice into getting into the narration space, I say that the first thing you always need to do is, like you said, start taking some jobs, even if they're royalty share jobs, just so you can get a lay of the land and you can kind of understand what it's like to be in this space, but also finding what your genre is, because not everybody's voice is meant for romance. Not everybody's voice is meant for fiction or nonfiction or suspense. So figuring out what your genre is important, because there's no point in going out and auditioning for 500 jobs, and you don't have the quote unquote chops to pull this off. I already know, I don't have the voice for fantasy. I know I don't have the voice for fantasy. I have a lisp. I speak very breathy. I have the voice for romance. I have the voice for guided meditation like I do, because my voice is, so everybody says, very calming, right? So I know what my voice, can do. So finding what your genre is very important. Do not skip that.
Yeah.
And I do have a question on here that says, what's the most underrated skill? But I think we just said that. The most underrated skill as a narrator should be developing is, what would you say it is?
Probably preparation.
Yeah.
So many times I walked into a project or a new chapter, and I'm like, damn, I didn't prepare enough, because I got to keep stopping and thinking about how is he saying this?
So definitely prep, manuscript prep, and I'm big on manuscript prepping. I am. And I think that even before me, I don't think that you were manuscript prepping as tough as you probably do now.
Not at all. I was maybe doing a little bit of reading, and I'd be like, oh, I could do this.
Yeah. You're just jumping in.
Yeah, I just jumped in.
Yeah, but it helps so much when you go through and you highlight your character's dialogue, you make yourself little notes if necessary. You kind of give it a little rough read through, because in all actuality, I know for me personally, when I'm narrating a book, I don't really read the book, or I don't really hear the book until the book is completed. You know what I mean? So I can be reading these words off the page and I'm doing the inflections I need to do, but that has to do with preparation. It doesn't have to do so much with, me actually having read the book. Sometimes I do have connection, but not all the time. So I do want us to do a little reading at the end, bring back the dynamic duo for just a moment for y'all. But we're going to do what I call mic check. And mic check is, it's just a relaxed thing where we talk about, or you tell me about what you're doing and just how you've been feeling in narration as of late, because, I try to check on you and just see how you're doing, just to do a little check-in. Lately, tell us what book you've been doing recently.
Yeah.
First.
Recently, I've been working on the Capri series by Jaquel J. Yeah. I think for the last 2-3 months. So yeah, it's I didn't know anything about Jaquel, although because of TikTok, I've seen a lot of videos about Jaquel's work. And it was very interesting to get an email with the offer, because I didn't audition. Well, it was a request to audition for it, but I was like, wow, I'm flattered. I didn't think I was going to get it, because they were asking me to use a New York voice.
Yeah.
And I tried over and over and over again. I'm like, you know what?
I remember you calling me and asking me about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, they already want you.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't, no offense to anybody who feels like they do know the difference. Sometimes readers don't know the difference. And it shows like I was like, you have enough of that swag to your voice, and you enunciate your words very well, and that's what's really necessary. So you having that quote unquote New York accent, I like that. I like how you've been narrating because it doesn't feel like you're putting on. You know what I mean? Because I hate when it feels like somebody is like really trying to put on this voice that's just not natural to them, because now you have to maintain something that is not, clear. But what's one line that you think you couldn't, can you remember one line recently that you couldn't say with a straight face?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it caught me off guard. Jacquel, first of all, Jacquel's a great writer. She does a really good job. Anyway, there was that scene where Kwame and Capri I think this was their first sex scene together. And that one line was cold. He told her, he said, he asked her, he said, you know I respect you, right? And then he said, I'm about to fuck you like I don't. And I was like, yo, that was a cold line right there. And I was like,
it is a cold line.
I'm definitely gonna use that. I had to write that down.
Like, let me pull out my notepad. Yeah. Pause. Yeah. Let me pull out my notepad. So do you record spicy scenes sitting down or standing up? Like,
yeah, I have to do it sitting down.
Same.
Yeah.
I have to do it sitting down. I thought maybe I could change my my arrangement in here so that I could record standing. I don't know. It seems awkward. What's your favorite narrator snack? Like, what do you snack on between takes?
Of a snack person. Let's see. I like Pringles. I like Pringles, but I haven't had these in a minute. But I like cashews and I like pistachios. I'll snack the hell out of those. I love those. So
some nuts in your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to take this.
Get these nuts in your mouth, dude. I will too. Listen, I love some cashews and pistachios.
So y'all heard it here first. If y'all want to get LB a little snack, y'all know, get him some nuts. Anyway. I know, but you are too, because you laugh at.
Yeah, we both just two big ass kids.
For real. Who's your book bae right now? Like, from a title that you recorded or you read recently.
Okay, book bae. Let's see who we got. Oof. All right. What's old girl's name? Exactly who it is too. Girl from They're Not Strangers, the main girl. What was her name?
Oh, Denise? Denise, I'm Denise.
Yeah, Denise. Listen.
Denise.
Yeah, she a thick'em, so I love a nice thick woman. Yeah. And she was, she was innocent and free, and but it caught me off guard how much of a pro she turned into. I'm like, well, wait a damn minute.
I know, right? Like, what the hell?
No, there needs to be a second book about her lies here.
Lies and deceit, Denise, because you said you was a virgin.
Yeah, she was.
This does not seem virginal.
She was over here gawking and shit. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck?
Like, okay.
Wait a minute. She was straddling him, and I'm like, hold up. You a virgin, right? Like, wait. But yeah, Denise, yeah, I like Denise a lot. She's sexy. Yeah. She's a realistic character, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That she has been one of my most favorite characters to like embody in a book thus far as well. So I'm really excited about that book release when it comes. See, we were both working really, really hard to get it done. We had a couple of little hiccups happen.
Big hiccup.
big hiccup.
It's more
like re-record
more like a
hiccup,
pothole. Tore your damn tires up.
Yeah, for real. Oh my gosh. But we're getting it done. We're getting there. JD recently asked us to do the third book, which I am extremely excited about because, like, first of all, I get to do 2 books. We get to do 2 books back to back together. And then that will make 3 books together, which is amazing, you know? Yay. Before we get into our reading, I'm gonna ask you this last question. If you had to describe your narrator voice in 3 words, what would they be? Ooh, this
Voice
is a
in
good
3
one.
words. Ugh. I like to leave stuff like that up to the listener. I guess engaging. I guess I can say, deep, maybe. And versatile.
Engaging, deep, versatile.
Yeah.
We like that. I like that. I've always told you that what I like about your voice is that there's a depth to your voice that's not necessarily deep. You know what I mean? So that's always been like a tone from a listener. And you surprised the hell out of me that one day. You caught me off guard, to be perfectly honest. Because
which day we talking about?
It was the time when I was in Atlanta and you had did that Capri spicy scene and you sent it to me.
Yeah.
And so that night, I went to sleep kind of late because we were working on something. You were working on helping me get some stuff set up. And so the next morning I woke up and I saw the message from you and I wasn't in my narrator headspace. I just wasn't. I wasn't in my mentor headspace. I was very much in my listener headspace. And so when I turned the recording on and I heard it, I said, oh, shit. And I think I texted you. I did. I couldn't even text you because I was like, hold on, calm yourself. Because that's the bestie. That is not whoever this man he said he is. When you broke out that Spanish or Portuguese or whatever it was, I tell you what, I was flustered. Absolutely. And I just have enjoyed watching your glow up. And I knew that it was going to happen. I told you it was going to happen. You know, I knew that you were going to get all these books and I knew you were going to get all the offers and I knew people were going to love you. And I just knew that you were going to do amazing. And so to see it to come to fruition, just, I tell you all the time that I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I mean it. So we have a choice. We can do a little snippet from They're Not Strangers. Or we can do the book that I sent you.
Yeah, let's do a cold read.
You're gonna do a cold. Let's do a cold read. We're gonna do the cold read from the book I sent you. And I haven't actually read this. I just know where I want to start at, and we're just gonna start from there. So. All right, y'all. So now we are going to do a little bit of a cold read. We used to do these all the time on live together. And we really enjoyed doing these, but our schedules don't allow us to do them anymore. So this is a little treat for everybody that's listening. We are going to read a snippet from a book called I'll Make You Love Me by Shay Davis. So yeah, we hope you enjoy it. I let out a soft chuckle. I had no idea what I was going to do with this man. I could think of a few things. The little she-devil was on my shoulder, being a real pain in the ass. Instead of focusing on my scattered thoughts, I directed him to my house. This is a nice car, by the way, I spoke, filling the quiet. The sleek midnight blue BMW SUV looking contraption had tinted windows, butter interior, and all the other bells and whistles. It screamed dope boy. How the hell can a damn building maintenance man afford a BMW? Lord, please don't let me be falling for a dope boy. I couldn't help but groan at that thought. It was as if my life flashed before my eyes, as if I was living out some fantasy in one of my favorite urban fiction novels, where there was a half-naked man, fancy cars, bullets, and money all over the cover. While I loved to indulge in the hood tales because, hell, who wouldn't want to be on a chartered jet with designer bags and clothes for a first date? As good as it sounds, it wasn't real life. And there's no way my situation would end up like that. I'd fuck around and be a girlfriend who got caught riding dirty with everything. Riding dirty and everything went to shit in a matter of seconds. Okay, maybe you need to read a sweet romance tonight before bed because, girl, you're tripping.
Hey, where'd you go?
I shook my head. Oh, nowhere. Just thinking about life, I replied.
Yeah, okay.
Jameer briefly glanced over at me as if he could read my thoughts, and I squirmed in my seat.
I work hard every damn day, from sunup to sundown, legally. So I decided to treat myself this year for my birthday. But I still have my first baby, my Camaro as well. What can I say? I am a man who likes nice cars.
I hope my hard work pays off like this one day. Or at least I do better than the squatter who just won't even... than the squatter that won't even start. Damn, just thinking about how I was almost 20 years older. I was almost 20 years older than Jameer. Dang, 20. And I was still riding around in a hoopty, and he was reaping the reward from his hard work. Made me depressed as hell.
It will, Mina. I know it.
There he went, affirming that my life was going to turn a corner. It was ironic that our encouraging words weren't the other way around. If anything, as someone old enough to be his mom, I should have been affirming and encouraging his dreams. But nope. Jameer was over here speaking life into me, and he barely knew me. I could definitely fall for someone like that. His confidence oozed off him. It was so damn sexy. The closer we got to my cozy house off Baltimore Avenue, my insecurities rose. I should be proud of the fact that I owned my own home, mortgage-free, but all I could think about was that Jameer would think of me living in what Jameer would think of me living in the hood. Feeling my angst, Jameer reached over and rubbed my thigh.
Hey, shut all that shit down. I don't care about where you live. I spent the first 18 years of my life basically homeless, hopping from foster home to foster home. I've damn near seen and lived in every hood in this city. I'm not worried about where you lay your head. I'm not worried about where you lay your head, Mina. At least not in the manner I know you're over there stressing about.
Then, in what manner are you worried about? Are you worried? I wouldn't vocalize my thoughts. It was crazy enough how he was able to pluck my thoughts straight from my head. It was as if he had some type of supernatural power. That shook me a little. And it made me wonder about what other thoughts he knew were racing through my head and what he decided not to comment on. Once I allowed myself to relax, I focused back on what he had said about growing up in foster care. That made my heart break. The part of me that wanted to save every child and their mother had me wishing I was around to help him. But then I had to immediately shut that down and was thankful for the man that he turned out to be. Because I wanted to jump his fucking bones. If I had to choose a time for our paths to cross, I would definitely go with right now, because before me, as much as I wanted to deny it, sat a grown ass, sexy ass man. When Jameer pulled up in front of my house and double parked, he went to open the door, no doubt prepared to come around to my side and open the door for me. I put my hand on his muscular arm to stop him, and he turned to look at me curiously.
Let me at least feed you. I could make you some dinner as a thanks for keeping a watchful eye on me and helping with my car.
I was rewarded with Jameer's bright smile, and again, those perfect white teeth. Dinner sounds good.
Sexual chocolate.
I nodded.
All right, let's stop there.
You want to stop right there?
Sexual chocolate.
So go check out that book. I hope y'all liked that little snippet that we read, and hopefully we can get back to doing these little code reads occasionally if we can get, the time to do.
Maybe the author offers this book. I don't even know who she is, but I'm gonna look her up.
I know I like Shay Davis. I think no. I think I met Chantel Davis in person. But Shay Davis is a really good author. I've read a couple of her books. And yeah, so check it out. I'll Make You Love Me by Shay Davis. So thank you so much, LB, for having this interview with me today. And yeah,
My pleasure.
That's a wrap, you guys.
Thank you.
All right. See you later. And that's a wrap on this That's My Genre episode with LB. I hope you felt the love, the laughter, and the realness. If you enjoyed this convo, go ahead and hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another book lover who needs to hear it. Until next time, this is Voices Beyond the Pages, where stories and voices meet. You're going to love it here.